Hello everyone, welcome to our next lesson on trigonometric equations. Before we do trigonometric equations, we're going to look at some trigonometric relations. That's where you don't have the equal sign. Trigonometric relations just follow the rules that we've learned in algebra. For instance, if you had 4x plus 3x, this is equal to 4 plus 3 is 7. You have 7 x's. Same whether you have sine x or if you just have the x's, it's the same rules. So 4 sine x plus 3 sine x, well, you've got 7 sine x's. So the answer is 7 sine x. Similarly, sometimes you're asked to factorize. So for instance, if you had x squared plus y, or an x squared times y minus y, we could factor out the y. Y equals x squared minus 1. Well, it's the same whether you have sines and cosines in there as well. We could factor out the sine x, and then we get cosine squared x minus 1. What's neat about this is because of some of the rules that we've learned in the past, we realize that sine squared x plus cosine squared x is equal to 1, and therefore cosine squared x minus 1 is equal to negative sine squared x. Oh, look at that. This is the exact same as this, and therefore we could substitute this into this equation, or this relation, and you get the final answer of sine cube x, negative. Let's try a couple more. Well, this one, well, it looks very similar to a quadratic equation. So I could just call cosine x, I could call it u, for instance. Then it would look like this, u squared minus 4u plus 3. And this is simple to factor, u minus 3, u minus 1. And last step, we could put in the cosine x back into the relation. So cosine x minus 3 and cosine x minus 1. And now you've just factored this relation. Try one more. Cosine squared x minus 4. This becomes cosine x minus 2, cosine x plus 2. Now that we've looked at some relations, let's try some trigonometric equations where we're actually going to solve. So for instance, if we have 2 sine x squared, 2 sine squared x plus sine x is equal to 0, and you want to solve for x. Well, you notice that both have sine x, so we could factor out the sine x. Sine x is 2 sine x plus 1 is equal to 0. And because we're multiplying two things that are equal to 0, one of them has to equal 0. So sine x equals 0, or 2 sine x plus 1 is equal to 0. Well, when is sine x equal to 0? So looking at unit circle, when does your y value equal to 0? Your y value equal to 0? Oh, this point right here. And therefore, x is equal to 0 degrees, or 0 radians. But it also works here as well, because your y value is 0, and therefore the answer could be also pi. And it could be 2 pi, and 3 pi, and 4 pi, etc., etc. So 2k pi would be the correct answer. The second one, you've got 2 sine x plus 1 is equal to 0. Well then, sine x is equal to negative 1 over 2. And if we were looking for when our y value is equal to negative 1 over 2, well, remember our little rule we learned? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 2's on the bottom. Square root the top. When does your y value equal negative 1/2? Well, it's not going to equal there negative 1/2. That's positive 1/2. So when's the y value going to be negative? We're going down to quadrant 3 and 4. So your answer would be negative pi over 6. Or another way you could say is 11 pi over 6. As well, this is 6 pi over 6 plus another pi over 6, so we've got 7 pi over 6. And therefore, x is equal to 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. But we also have to remember, it could go around and around and around. So there could be an infinite amount of answers to this question. Usually IB says it's between pi and between negative pi and pi, or 0 and 2 pi, and therefore your answer has to reflect that. Hope that helps. See you in class. Have a good day.